Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast. I'm your host, Nate Weitzer, coming to you from the East Coast, joined by Midwest Mo, our baseball expert at thelines.com. And we have all the great content for you on MLB and the NBA at both the Lines and playpicks.com. Tonight, we're going through a 4-game slate here on a Thursday night. Not a lot to choose from, but that really does narrow down your bets in terms of what you want to look at. As always, if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com. Find those listings in your local area, such as what we'll get into right here. We got the Reds plus 120 at Pittsburgh, Yanks plus 120 as well at the White Sox, and Phillies plus 120 at the Dodgers. And then the fourth game only has a lineup at Caesars so far because the Royals are about to close out the Rangers here on Wednesday night. It looked like it will be plus 115 for KC at Texas there. Total about 8 runs for all 4 of these games. And we'll just go lightning round style here, Mo. We'll go through each game. I'll say what my initial thoughts are, and you fire right back what you think. So this Reds-Pirates game, first of all, the Reds are in a really interesting situation where they're supposed to be the worst team in baseball and look like it, and all of a sudden they're hitting the cover off the ball a little bit. And this is an exact rematch of last week's pitching matchup with Connor Overton and JT Brubaker. Both guys pitched pretty well. Brubaker, it seemed like a pretty good prospect last year for a while, but he kind of had his troubles. Now he's not really leaning on his fastball at all this year, throwing 33% slider, and he can't get guys to chase it. So he's not getting that home run fly ball ratio that was plaguing him, but the walk rate is way up. That is still, he did get 9 Ks against this Reds lineup in the last meeting, 5 innings strong, and then the Pirates bullpen just collapsed for a 9-2 Reds win. Overton also not getting a ton of swings and misses, right? But he does have a pretty filthy changeup that could eventually start to produce that stuff. He has a 24% called strike rate in these 2 MLB starts so far. He was pitching very well at the AAA level. So based on two prospects, based on those guys, I'm likely to just ride with the Reds here because I don't think it's unlikely that the Pirates bullpen just coughs up another lead again, even if Brubaker does play well. But what do you think here? Who do you like on the money line?
I had this one pretty fair. If I had to take a side, I think I would take the Pirates just because I have a little more confidence. I know what Brubaker is. And I think there's honestly some upside in Brubaker. Overton just not a guy who I think is going to basically stick in the MLB. Didn't really debut until he was, I think, 27. Brubaker has actually gotten quite unlucky according to the metrics. Either that or he's doing something poorly that the peripherals and stuff aren't capturing, because his fielding independent stuff is actually pretty good. Like, he's consistently been around a 4 Sierra, but his ERA stinks. But 197 innings isn't enough for us to conclude that he is a guy who is going to have this issue all the time. So I just have to believe that there's something better coming for Brubaker, I guess. I downgrade him somewhat just because the more evidence we get that he's not getting as many guys out as we think, the more we have to conclude something might be off there. But I think there's room for Brubaker to play well at some point if he can get his contact quality in line. And I know he can miss major league bats. So just leaning a little more towards Brubaker, but I thought the line was fair.
Yeah, this does seem to be a good matchup for him. Like we said, 9 Ks last time out. He's depending on people swinging outside the zone. Just has a 27% outside zone swing rate so far, but the Reds are 28th in terms of making contact outside the zone. So that does explain his success there. Maybe something to look at with his props then in terms of the Ks. We got another prospect going for the Yanks here as they play their 6th game in 5 days. They're calling up Luis Gil to take on Dylan Cease and the White Sox. Total is 8 runs. And Gil, I guess Aaron Boone saying that the 9.53 ERA in over 5 AAA starts is somewhat affected by cold weather in that at affiliate. So, and then Gil pitched pretty well in his last start out there, Wilkes Barre, right? That's where he's pitching. He was pretty solid last year, over 29 innings, 3.08 ERA, 38 Ks in those. And he's expected to be able to go around 80 pitches if he's pitching well. I really like that Yankees bullpen. Obviously, they have fantastic numbers all over the place. The numbers to me for both sides indicate under, because Dylan Cease, we know what he can do. He's one of the leading Cy Young candidates. He has a much higher ground ball rate so far this year. His hard hit rate is down from 38% to 25% and a 4% barrel rate. So he was kind of getting unlucky a little bit, but his last 3 starts, he's pretty much been lights out, 28 Ks in those performances. So under 8 runs, I do like here. It's minus 105 at FanDuel. You're getting better juice on the under. The White Sox are 11-4 to under in non-division games so far. Yankees are 16-10 to the under when they're just playing on normal 0 days rest, and 8-4 to the under on the road. So that would be my play looking at this one.
So I actually did have a bet circled for this one. And now I don't know what's going on. So don't know what to do with this game anymore because I had the Yanks plus 125. I was very happy with it. I was seeing Vince Velasquez as the White Sox starter, but just got a text from fellow The Lines staffer Eli, and he's telling me it's Dylan Cease. So I guess MLB.com does have Cease. So not sure what's going on, but I put some work in and thought this was Vince Velasquez. I was ready to fade Vince Velasquez again. I got robbed of my closing line value today, so not too happy about that. Got the Guardians plus 129. They were down to plus 110 when it got COVID canceled. So I thought I was going to get another shot to fade Velasquez, and now I'm not, I guess. So I do think Gil is a little bit interesting against the White Sox specifically. He kind of profiles like a closer when I'm looking at his like pitch mix and his strengths and weaknesses. He's a big fastball slider guy with very, very good grades on his fastball and slider, and not a good grade on a third pitch and not a good grade on command. So that looks to me like a future closer probably. But I think if the Yankees don't try to stretch him too hard here, he can get through the White Sox lineup a couple times. They got a lot of right-handed batters. A guy who's very fastball slider centric is going to be ideally at his best pitching with the platoon advantage. So against kind of a righty-leaning White Sox lineup, I think Gil can do okay as long as they don't try to push him a third time through the order. But I guess I just didn't really look very much at the other side of this because I thought it was a bad pitcher and now it's a good pitcher. So I guess the line's probably fair.
Yeah, well, if you like Gil, what he can do against this lineup, and we like Dylan Cease against any lineup, then maybe
and two great bullpens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the under makes some sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's good odds there. And then we go out to LA where the Phillies are getting similar odds, plus 122, with Zach Wheeler on the mound against Tyler Anderson. Anderson was, a pretty bad pitcher for a while. I mean, I guess he was with the Rockies, so that home run to fly ball ratio is a little inflated. But he's fixed that over the last couple seasons since leaving there. He has a career high 24% K rate so far, getting much less contact outside the zone and more swings outside the zone this year. The Phillies lineup against lefties, you'd think might struggle a little bit. I mean, they're hitting 245, which is actually near the top of the league so far in a very small sample size, though. And they actually have the top line drive rate, 26% against lefties. There are plenty of dangerous guys in there besides the big hitting lefties in Harper and Schwarber. So it's not like they can't get to Anderson. And Wheeler is really ace quality, despite the fact that he was shelled by the Marlins and Brewers. His last 2, he's bounced back with 14 Ks, 5 hits allowed, 0 earned. Some things to indicate he's kind of getting unlucky. I mean, how do you have a 315 BABIP and a 21% hard contact rate, which is career best for him? His xERA is lower than his actual ERA, which is a quick indicator. And he's getting more called strikes and fewer swinging strikes. So maybe that plays well against a Dodgers team that really doesn't chase outside the zone at all. They actually have the lowest chase rate. So I think we like Wheeler and the Phillies here. I think at least the value you're getting here based on the matchup.
Yeah, this one I'm going to stick with. I do really like the Phillies. I just don't see how they can be this big of underdogs with so much a better pitcher on the mound. Zach Wheeler hasn't been at his best so far, but he still has pretty solid ERA estimators. I'm not really worried about him. He's down a little bit on velocity, but still throwing well above like good MLB fastball threshold. So assuming he doesn't have any like ill effects lingering from his recent stint on the COVID IL, I'm not really worried about him going forward. And Anderson, he has established kind of a better baseline than a guy like Vince Velasquez that I was going to talk about, but I don't see anything that tells me he can keep this up. Basically, like you were saying, we have a pretty long track record of him being a mediocre arm. I mean, even when he was in pitcher-friendly San Francisco, 4.37 ERA, 4.77 xERA. He's pitching legitimately very well so far, but without a velocity bump, without a pitch mix change, I'm not really seeing anything that's telling me he's just like all of a sudden a good pitcher. So against a dangerous Phillies offense, I mean, we could definitely see him regress in a hurry here. So I think this should be much closer to like Dodgers, like -110 or something.
Yep. And then the last game we're looking at here, like I said, we just have a lineup at one book so far. Royals +115 at the Rangers, total of 8 runs. Just want to bring it up because I think we'd be excited to fade Taylor Hearn. We don't really know what to make of John Heasley yet. He's a prospect making his 4th MLB appearance. He had a pretty rough 7.2 xERA in those 3 MLB starts last year. Just a 5.6% swinging strike rate, which is almost double that in AAA so far this year. I think the unknown I will lean into more than what we know about Taylor Hearn, which is that he's getting hammered. 45% hard contact rate, 16% barrel rate. I don't even understand how he has an 11.5 K per 9 ratio with this swing rates he's getting here, and with the slider that rates -5 below average. And the Royals lineup, like we mentioned before, they tagged Martin Perez for 4 runs the other night. They did very well against lefties last year, and the Rangers, when they're at home, 3 of the last 4 over versus 4 and under in a row on the road. That ballpark is definitely going to help offenses out. So I think I lean towards over here at 8 runs.
Yeah, this one was a tricky one because Heasley has just so little to go off of. But if I had to pick, I would think maybe an over here could be in play. Hearn has a 3.73 Sierra. I have no idea how he's managing that. I don't buy it. 93.5 mile per hour average exit velocity. That is about as bad as it gets. 15.9% barrels. That's like 2.5 times the league average. He's not a good pitcher. And Heasley, I just expect him to be basically a replacement level arm. I thought maybe Brady Singer was coming up. I guess I'm confused what's happening there because he was actually a decent pitcher with some promise. So maybe he had like some sort of setback. But these pitchers, these teams, this is about as forgettable as a matchup gets. And this is about right where I actually thought the line should be. So not any value either way, I don't think here.
Yeah, but plenty to choose from here, even though there are only 4 games on this Thursday night. There are some great betting options, like we said. Please do like and subscribe to the page as we will bring you content every single weekday throughout the MLB season. Next week, Josh Lander, our current host, is off for his honeymoon, but Mo will be joined by Nicole Russo of the Lines, and they will be breaking down games for you.